number B, if you have B raised to a negative exponent, we can just put it in the bottom of a fraction and make it positive. So basically, our rule here is to move negative exponents and whatever their base is across that fraction bar to make it positive. So here, it was in the top, so I can move it to the bottom. Here it's in the bottom, I move it to the top. Just move it across the fraction bar. Okay. So, we've got a few examples of that. Starting with number 1. Is there anything wrong with the 12?
Yes. No.
Not the 12. So I'm going to leave the 12 alone. What about the m to the negative 7? Where do I need to move it?
You put that on the bottom.
Alright. So just this part goes to the bottom. So you got to be careful about which part you move. Only the part with a negative exponent. Okay? What about on number 2? What part am I moving?
The x negative 4.
Good. So just that part there. So I'm going to end up with negative 6, good, over x to the 4. Okay, and what is wrong with number 3? So I need to move the bottom up to the, okay, so what's my answer going to be? Good. Okay, and then number 4. How can I make that exponent positive? Move it to the bottom, so I'm going to have to put it under 1. Now, because that is just a number, I can put it in my calculator, right?
Wouldn't the 9 be in the...
Well, just the exponent changes when we move it. Okay. So I would have 9 raised to the 4, and that becomes 6,561. So here, I just have 1 over 6,560. You only need to simplify it all the way like that if you're squares. Alright. Okay, so that's our rule about the negative exponents. Our other rule said if you have some base b raised to the 0 power, the whole thing just becomes 1. Right? So on number 5, 73 to the 0 is just 1/4 to the 0 is just. Alright, but then you got to be careful when there's multiple pieces. Does the 11 become 1? No, because it's not being raised to the 0. So I still have the 11, but the m will become, so I have 11 times 1. Okay, what about here? Which is just, good, very good guys. Okay, so first we would do what? Good, and that gives us, alright, and we're multiplying, so the rule for exponents is awesome. So here I have a 3, what's my exponent here? Good. And then for n, I've got negative 2 and 4. And there's my answer. Okay. Alright, number 10, what do I do first? Which gives us, alright, and then again we're adding exponents, right? So, right, because negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1, so a to the negative 1. Right, negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Okay, but we can't leave it like this.
Put the 6 on top and then a on the bottom.
Right.
Then b turns into 1.
So we don't like that negative, so we do move this to the bottom. So now it's positive. And he said all of this became 1, so it's basically like having times 1. But 6 times 1 is still just 6 over 8. You don't have to put the exponent of 1, it's understood, right? But if you do, it's not. Okay, flip it over on the back. Alright, I want you guys to attempt this next set here, and then we're going to check those. So, on number 11, we have a power to a power, but that does mean that we're raising everything inside to the 3rd power. So, yes, you could type that in your calculator, but realize that 3 times 3 times 3, Alexander said that is 27. Alright, but for my power to a power rule, what's my rule for exponents?
Multiply.
Multiply, and I'm going to get
Negative 9.
-9.
And you put equals
Mm-hmm.
the 27 over a.
Good. There was nothing wrong with the 27. We didn't have to move that, just the a because it had a negative exponent. Good job, guys. Okay, number 12. So I have to divide my numbers first. And what do I get?
Negative.
Good. Now, before I start dividing, I'm going to move stuff if I need to. So there's nothing wrong with this a, right? Alright, but in the bottom, I have an a to the -5. I don't want that, so I need to move it to the... Okay. Then in the top, I have a b to the -4. I don't like that, so I need to move it. And there's nothing wrong with the b squared. And what does c to the 0 become?
1.
Good. Okay, so I have -2 in the top. I'm multiplying, so I add, and I get
AC.
a to the 6. Good.
Oh, okay, that's it.
Alright, in the bottom,
You get B to the 6.
I get b to the 6 times 1, but that would still just be b to the 6, right? So I can leave it just like this. Okay, number 13. So in my first parenthesis here, I've got x to the 4, y to the -3, and what does e to the 0 become? 1. Now, but in this second parenthesis, we got power to a power. We are going to erase everything. If you type it in your calculator, you have to put parentheses around the -6, or it's not going to give you the right answer, right? So that means -6 times -6, which is good. Alright, and then power to a power means to multiply exponents. So -1 times 2, and 5 times 2, and 1 times 2. So this is like having a 1 there, right? Okay. Now we're just multiplying, so I just need to go back and add my exponents. So I have a 36, and I'm going to have x to the what? 2. 4 plus -2 is 2. Then y to the 7th, -3 and 10 is 7. There's no more z here. And even if you did leave it, it would be 0 plus 2, which is just 2. And yeah, we could multiply it by 1 because it became 1, but it doesn't change the answer.
Shut up.
Okay. Alright, number 14, more power to a power. So starting with the first parenthesis, I've got 2 squared, which becomes,
4.
and then there's no exponent with m, so it must be 1. So it's going to become m to the 2nd. 1 times 2 is 2. Okay. And then for n, 3 over 2 times 2 is 3. You can just type that part in your calculator, right? Okay. Alright, and then for my second parenthesis, what is 5 squared?
24.
Okay, and then for my power to a power, I'm going to m to the...
-8.
Okay, now we can multiply, which means add exponents. 100, good.
10 to the 3rd. No, it's 1 to the 6.
And to the -6, right? Because I have 2 plus -8. And then there's only 1 in it, right? Right.
Be 100n. 100n to the 3rd over n to the 6.
Good. We got to move that to the bottom. Good job. Okay, last one. It says which expression is equivalent to this. I heard a lot of people saying something about it becomes 2, but we can type this fraction in our calculator, right? 10 over 12. And it's going to give you a decimal, but you can just press math, enter, enter, and it converts back to a fraction, and the fraction is. Yes, right. They're both even numbers, right? So we know 2 would go into the top one 5 times, the bottom one 6 times. Yes, we need to start moving those negative exponents. So I I don't like that this is negative, so I'm going to move that x to the bottom, to the fourth. Good. I don't like the negative 2 at the bottom, so move it to the... Okay. Is there anything wrong with the y or z?
No.
No. So I'm going to leave them where they are. Okay, and then in the bottom, is there anything wrong with this y? No, not with the y. But with the z, gotta move it to the top. So we have not done any math yet, we've just been moving things so far, right? Okay. Now that they're in the right spot, we can use our rules from over here. So we have 5 over 6. So for x, I've got 4 minus 2. 2, and the big number was in the bottom. So it goes to the bottom. So x squared in the bottom. Then for y, I've got 5 minus 2.
3.
Good. And the big number was in the...
Top.
Okay, and then my z, they're both in the top.
You add